Hi everybody, Farah Gibson, psychic medium here, and I just wanted to get on here to make a video to help to bring some more perspective to your heart on your grief journey. And today I want to talk about difficult relationships with our loved one who passed. I think that one of the hardest things to overcome in the earthly sense when we lose somebody is if we didn't get to make amends before, they passed, or maybe we didn't even want to make amends and we just hold grudges for the things that we went through with that loved one in heaven. And I want you to know first and foremost that your loved one doesn't hold one of those grudges at all. And we're going to talk a little bit about that today. And hopefully I can put it into perspective for you that gives you a better understanding and really give you some tools to use those difficult moments for your growth and a better life day to day for you than you're living in holding on to all of those hard things that you're struggling with. So when somebody lives a hard dynamic with us in life, I can use many examples. My ex was extremely abusive, or, I had a stepmom that was extremely abusive, and those dynamics here in the earthly sense will not be fixed. And actually, that stepmom that was extremely abusive did pass. And I was okay with where I was standing in that moment. And we're going to talk about that too. So when we write a life plan, there are people in your life plan who have written to be the villain. How are you going to come here and live through difficult moments and challenges if no one writes to be that difficult person for you, to give you those challenges and to give you those obstacles for you to work through and overcome? And so when we think of like my stepmom who was abusive to me, I look back on moments with her and I'm grateful. And people look at me and they go, wait, what do you mean you're grateful for the abuse? Like, how terrible was she? And I can tell you that she was quite terrible in more moments than one. But at the same time, she taught me in those moments how I never wanted to be in life. And that was her blessing to me. She taught me how never to be a mom in life. And that was her blessing to me. And so as I journeyed through those very difficult moments with physical abuse and being told that I was worthless and that I was nothing and that I should never sing because I'm a terrible singer and all the things that she would not let me call her. She would make me call her mom and then not let me call her mom on days that she was mad at me. You're not allowed to call me mom today. I think those days I was like, oh, good. I can call you by your first name instead, right? It was a lot of head games and those things in those moments. But at the same time, I wouldn't change any of those moments because they've made me better. And so when we have a difficult dynamic, let's take a child who has a drug addiction, right? So we go through a lot of different emotions with a child who has a drug addiction. And let's say that child overdoses, or, we lose them to that addiction in some way or form. We didn't get to have those loving moments as a parent, that we really hoped to embrace, and that happy, beaver cleaver perfect family, right, that we always like hope that we have, but at the same time, how amazing is your child to write a life plan to have that addiction, to grow their entire family through moments of that addiction, and in those moments we go through everything from trying to be angry at them, and demanding that they stop using, and then we move to this understanding that they're going to use and move to a place of compassion and trying to help, right? We might offer them, counseling or, rehab or whatever it is, and sometimes we give them money to keep them going, and then we feel like we're enabling them, and then there's the fights, and the tough love that we finally move to sometimes, where we completely step back from them and go, hey, you've got to hit your bottom because I can't help you hit it. And that's one of the difficult places for somebody to be in when that child passes, when they step back. Sometimes they have guilt, like, well, if I had just stayed in their corner, and if I had just stayed very present for them, and if I had kept demanding, this would have been different. But I want to remind you, you're not bigger than their blueprint. You're just meant to be a part of it. So if there's things that you wish you had said in those moments, whether it be, my stepmom and I, could she have come back in her later years after she and my dad were no longer together for many, many years and made peace? She absolutely could have. Did she? Nope. But I was okay with where I was standing. And what I mean by that is when you have a difficult relationship with somebody in life, let's take your current life situation right now. Maybe you're not speaking to one of your kids. Maybe you're not speaking to a sibling. Maybe you're not speaking to one of your parents. And the question in that moment is, are you okay with where you're standing? Are you okay with how you left things? I don't speak to my biological mom in life either. We get along really well when we don't speak. And one of the things that I have to ask myself is, am I okay with where I'm standing? If my mom were to pass in a car accident tomorrow, am I okay with where I left things today? My answer to that is yes. I have given all the beauty, all the moments that I am willing to give to try to be in her space with love. And I finally decided, you know what? You're always welcome on my bright path, but I'll be damned if I travel your negative one more day. And I'm thankful that I'm standing in that space because I finally learned my self-worth. And I finally learned that I didn't have to accept those things in my journey any longer. And not only did I find that I didn't have to, I took the steps of no longer accepting those things in my journey. And I'm proud of where I'm standing. And I'm okay with where I'm standing if my mom were to pass tomorrow. I'm not wishing any harm on her. I wish her the best on her journey. But at the same time, I have an understanding within me that those are moments that I'm learning my self-worth. And I'm exercising that. And there's nothing wrong with honoring your self-worth and stepping back from the people that you love and saying, you know what, you're welcome on my positive path, but I'm no longer traveling your negative. So then, when we get to that place with the mom who has the child who is struggling through addiction, maybe that mom said, okay, this is the last thing that I can do for you, and I don't want to hear from you again until you're clean. I can't do this anymore. We get to that broken point. But the truth of it is, allowing your child to stand on their own 2 feet in that moment and saying, I can't carry you anymore, otherwise you're never going to learn to walk. There's nothing wrong with that as a parent. We've tried demanding, we've tried anger, we've tried compassion, we've tried helping, we've tried everything that we possibly can. So in those moments that you're stepping back, you're just truly trying another aspect of help and helping them to hit their own bottom. May have been the thing that they finally overcame their addiction with, but it didn't work. And maybe they passed from an overdose. I do a lot of readings for moms and dads who are in that situation when their child passes with an overdose. And I say, how beautiful are those life lessons that your child gave you? How amazing is it that you got so angry out of love that you required them to grow? And you're not bigger than their blueprint. And what I mean by that is there's nothing in this universe that you can do to change their passing. Their graduation day or passing to heaven is something that they wrote long before they ever came to this world. They were going to grow you the most with that moment. And the moments leading up to that are our free will to approach those moments how we wish. And how amazing is it that your child left you with lessons of love and strength and self-worth in those moments, and then maybe there are things that you said to get petty, right? Like to win the fight. And those are the things that you're holding on in your heart. And you guys, we're all living the human experience. Not everybody's meant to be perfect, and it's okay. So just understand that imperfect moments are human, and that's all right. But if there's regrets that you have with something that you said to somebody in their, in the last moments that you got to see them before they physically passed, I would say that that's also a lesson of love that loved one gave you. They gave you opportunities for your current relationships to make sure that you never do that again. And, that's a blessing. That's an amazing lesson that they gave you that you will hold on to for all eternity. You'll never leave a relationship in that space again if you're the one that was living with guilt and regret for the things that you said to win the fight. We don't always have to win the argument. We don't always have to win the fight. We can agree to disagree. And that's okay. And if that's the lesson of love that your loved one gave you, I say it's a blessing. When we get to heaven, we do a life review. And as we do that review from the eyes of everyone we ever touched. So how proud are you going to be of the moments that you gave others? That's the question in that life review. And if you are living moments that you're not proud of in this moment, you have opportunities for change, because there's always new moments that you're going to review from this day forward in your life, and you can be proud of them. And we're not going to be perfect every day. Like I said, we're living the human experience. So, but when your loved one passes, they also relive their life through your eyes. From your perspective, they see how they impacted you. They see why you got angry. They see why you were frustrated from your perspective in your heart. And that's such a blessing too. I always tell my kids in life, like, if I didn't care about you, I'd let you do whatever you want and I would never get mad. But because I care about you, I'm on your ass. And, that was a lesson that I taught my kids young. And so they got some mom moments that, there was yelling and there was, you're grounded, and all of those discipline moments, that you have as a parent with your kids that are no fun, because we'd love every day to be perfect. But the truth of it is, I wouldn't trade any of those moments, because I've taught my kids that if I didn't care, I would just let them be whoever they turned out to be, with no structure or ethics at all. And that's not what I wanted for my kids. I wanted to teach them the foundation, and then it was going to be their, choice and free will to use the tools that I gave them in life. So there's husbands and wives who have difficult relationships, and everybody fights, you guys. Long-term relationships are a little fuck you, and then we have to learn to love each other the next day, right, when we wake up. Even the good relationships have those struggles. And then there's struggles like with my ex, who was extremely abusive, that just, it wasn't going to work out. But when I have an argument with my current spouse, who I love very much, I don't fight to win. I don't say things out of anger that I'm going to regret tomorrow, because it's just not my way. I don't like saying things that aren't true just to win. I don't need to win. If I have an opinion that's against, his, again, we can just agree to disagree. Okay, done. So much easier. You can approach your arguments however you wish in life. Are you proud of how you handled it? And are you going to enjoy that life review of that moment on how you, delivered your argument to the person that you love? And was that argument worth it? I remember when my daughter was 2 and she had a near drowning, and I was giving her CPR on the pool deck at my dad's house. And all the things that were running through my mind while I was doing mouth to mouth on my little girl was, what did she wear today before this bathing suit? Did I tell her I loved her? What was the last time I took a picture of her? When was the last time I took a picture of us? Those were the things running through my mind when my little girl was deceased in my hands. I was blessed to bring her back with CPR that day. But I will tell you, it forever changed me getting angry at the petty things. The little things that irritate people. Traffic. So what? So we go a little bit slower today. Maybe that saved me from being in a vehicle accident. People that don't drive right. Okay, just, back off for a few minutes. Why get mad? All the little petty things that used to just really irritate me and make things difficult for my days. And really, that's what it was, because it just pissed me off. And now I'm pissed off all day. And of course, then everybody else around me is going to have the wrath of Farah, because she's irritated at all the little things. And I don't get irritated at the little things. Now, not that I don't still have human moments and get pissed, because I do. But it's got to be something pretty big to get at me. And don't get me wrong, once I'm there for a bit. Again, human experience, human moments. It's okay. You have choices in how you're going to handle things. And if you have regrets from any of your loved ones' life, the way that you guys interacted with one another, maybe a spouse moment, and then your spouse passed that night of a heart attack, or, and if there's regrets that you have, I say again, those are just lessons of love that they gave you to use in future relationships. When they get to heaven, they're in a place of pure peace and love. They look back at those moments and grow from them as well. If maybe they're the ones who left you in a difficult place because of how they acted. Do they carry that? No. They grow from it. They rewatch those moments from your eyes and your perspective, and they see how they could have done things differently. At the same token, maybe they were meant to be difficult for you in that moment to teach you a lesson of love, and they did their job just perfectly. Because life dynamics are so amazing in soul planning. Somebody has to write to be the difficult. So if they wrote to be the difficult one in your life and they gave you the difficult moments that they wrote to give you, they're going to absolutely be proud of those moments. They're going to be like, yeah, man, look at me. I was extra. Like, look at how much they grew from that, though. You know, they're so proud of your growth and in the growth that you're achieving through the things that they handed you that were difficult. And you're still navigating. So you have 100% track record of making it through everything life has thrown your way. Those are pretty good odds. And I say just take those lessons of love from those difficult moments, look back on them. If there's something that you can tweak and change a little bit about yourself to give different experiences to others so that you don't carry that guilt and you don't carry that, man, I wish I had, then by all means do that. But otherwise, hold your head high and know that your loved one in heaven is not carrying a grudge. They're not holding their fists up for when you get to heaven, just ready to knock you out when you get there. They're going to embrace you with love and go, man, we pulled that off, and holy crap, those difficult times, man, we grew from those, didn't we? That's how heaven is. So as much as you can, rock your days, take the difficult moments, feel them one more time if you need to, write them down if you need to, just one more time, get it all out, and then take them out of your space in that moment and put them down. Now scoop up your favorite memory of your loved one, the funniest moment, the most loving moment, whatever that favorite memory is, scoop that up, put it in the place of the guilt that you're carrying. And that's my best advice to you. I hope this helps you guys. Have a beautiful day.